be there for the other person because you don't know. And the other person doesn't know anything. Sound is the sound man and the film and the cinematographer, guy with the film, the camera in his hand. He doesn't know where to point. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's nine squares here. And he doesn't know who's going to speak next. So the camera's going to go, and that's part of this kind of documentary making.
So
There are other. Well, I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
okay, I'm going to start us off.
I'm like a guest here.
Hi, everybody. Keene State College film students, those of you in the community who are joining us, and all the ships at sea. My name is Tom Cook. I'm a film professor at Keene State College, part of the University System of New Hampshire. If you don't know where Keene is, we're in the southwest corner of New Hampshire.
Well, the question is, where's New Hampshire?
Well, we're the first in the nation electorate. So when, oh, you can't run for president. I forgot.
Right.
So
I can offer an opinion,
oh,
but not here.
So Keene's like about 2 hours from Boston, depending on how you drive. This class is called Career Development, and it's designed for Keene State College film students.
Well, I think you should call this class Cut and Run.
Well, that's our editing class.
Another small joke. Okay. I'm just trying to lighten it, get a smile on your student's face because we're going to have fun.
I had a big introduction to introduce a gentleman that I've known for a couple of years and been working with him, and who really needs no introduction, but international motion picture Emmy-winning TV star, writer, director, producer, host, singer,
all-around good fellow,
and award-winning equestrian, Mr. William Shatner. Bill, thanks so much for being available for us.
Thank you. Pleasure to look at all your young faces, and I include mine and yours, Tom, in that. Hello, everybody. I'm talking to you from a smoke-filled. You can't believe how smoky it is out there in the valley. It is. I like to work out as often as I can in the mornings, and it made me nauseous just to breathe the air, so I cut it short. It is terrible here, but it will go away, as will the COVID virus. So you have to have a long-term point of view, and you guys are here to learn the joys of making documentaries. You just choose the subject. Any subject is food for a documentary, as long as you can find the core of what makes it dramatic, what makes it interesting, which is what Professor Cook and I are doing right now with this large amount of film we call The Ride. We're trying to find the core of what makes that 45, 55-minute segment interesting. And we're doing our best on that because, again, making a documentary is trying to find the heart of the matter. And you may find it over there, and the cameraman over there, and rush to find it. To get it on camera that's another part of making a documentary. Can you anticipate where you'll need your sound, where you'll need your equipment, unless you've pre-thought this out and you've sat somebody down in a chair to interview them? But that's the easy part. Making a documentary on the move with a small camera and getting the right images and the right things on camera, that's the difficult part, and it requires lightning-like reflexes and an understanding between you and your cinematographer and your sound guy. Because if it isn't on film, it's pretty much useless. And if there's no sound, it's you had a phrase, Tom, that I loved. What was it? If there's no sound, no, the sound man had.
Right, that was your sound guy said that. Picture without sound is just surveillance. Right,
perfect. So you need the sound, and then if you just have sound and no visual, you got a listening device. You're eavesdropping. Where did the word eavesdropping come from? Where does that Eve? Where does that come from?
I tend to think Eve meaning, I don't know.
Okay.
I assume like the eaves on a roof. You're stuck up on a roof listening. I don't know.
Don't know either. Anybody got an idea where the word Eve for eavesdropping came from? Nothing.
And
See?
also for you, Bill, documentary is a big part of our production side, but we do narrative, we do experimental, expressionistic film. So I'm sure you'll get
Really?
lots of
Well, that's
questions.
that's great to hear. That I won't focus so much on the
Oh,
documentary.
that's fine. That's certainly how you and I connected. And
Yeah. So let's go back to that. Um, I to begin in the beginning, I was I a motorcycle was being offered to me, a new type of motorcycle. Would I be interested in? And I've driven motorcycles a lot over the many years, and I thought, what an interesting idea. So it blossomed into, okay, let's take this novel motorcycle and let's drive it from Chicago to Los Angeles. And then I said, well, what if we're doing that? Why don't we take some cameras along with it? Shoot a documentary. And then people said, well, if we're doing that, then we'll get the American Legion involved and we'll raise funds for the American Legion and we'll sell the bike and we'll make a documentary. And it all became so much that part of the interest of the film is trying to survive all of those activities and make a film at the same time. What I was watching the recent edit on episode 5 just now, Tom,
yep.
and I was struck by the idea that half the time the camera isn't there. There's one camera and there should be 3. So we're searching, to find the image, and the camera's flicking back and forth, and they're only using the sound from the camera because the sound man with a long boom and a recording device is nowhere around because he wasn't at the seat of this particular action. So it's all happenstance. It's an accident. It's what you catch. I'm talking about documentary now, but it's exciting. Talk to me about avant-garde films. What are you guys doing on avant-garde films?
Anybody jump in? I think most of the students we've got here are geared toward narrative.
What do you term narrative?
Storytelling, traditional kind of like Hollywood standard storytelling. That's my background.
Well, that's narrative. Okay. So
right.
Story, fiction.
Right.
Fiction. So do you write a script? Listen, I don't know your names, but I'm going to get to know you as this hour goes by. So let's start. What do you call the hat? The toque? Do you call it a toque?
Beanie.
A beanie. Okay. Beanie boy.
Hi.
Okay. You're Darwin. Darwin, Beanie boy. Have you written a script?
I've written a few, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
On what subject?
All subjects of all sorts. I don't know.
Pick a subject and tell me what you wrote about. No, that's not good. You're going to come up with it right away. You're auditioning here.
I was trying to think of the least embarrassing thing.
No, embarrassing is good. The only one to be embarrassed is you. We won't be embarrassed.
I'm writing a film about criminals that you come to adore.
What a fascinating idea. And give me an example.
As a character or
no, who is a criminal that you adore?
okay.
I'm not sure. Jeffrey
well,
Epstein.
personally, I don't adore, but when there's serial killers become popular, like Charles Manson, he becomes like this almost icon.
But the word adore, does that apply to Manson?
It's a good point.
Well, the point is, I'm listening intently at your choice of words. Okay, that's critical when you write anything. So, if your title is "Criminals You Adore," you better come up with somebody. Well, OJ. We adored OJ, right?
That's a good point.
Give me somebody else in your documentary that you're writing a film for. That a criminal that I would adore.
I think it's Martin Shkreli. I think that's how you say his last name.
Who?
On that is in prison currently for overpricing drugs for pharmacies.
Oh, that guy that charged $7,000 to stay alive on a pill or something, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Do we adore him?
I feel as though there's some people that appreciate his anti-conformity aspect of going about things, but yeah.
Okay. Maybe the word adore is ill chosen. Maybe you need
I
another
I agree.
fascination. Yeah. So that's a fascinating, that's incredible subject. It's unique. Are you going to pursue it?
Yeah.
And are you doing research? Have you got things going? What are you doing about finding those adorable people?
I wrote most of the characters I have written so far based off people I knew around my hometown. More like folklore characters almost, but they're scummy individuals that people have an appreciation for some certain aspect.
Oh, well, that's a lot different. Yeah. So there are people that you know that you think are charming, but have, in one way or another, uh, been reprehensible.
Yes.
And are you going to shoot it at your hometown?
Um, Most likely, yeah.
Well, how else would you do it?
Non-specific locations or characters. It's mostly what it's based off of.
I see. Okay. Well, what I'm just ad-libbing, just finding out about you guys, is what your interests are and what your documentaries might be. Um, Michael, what about you? I got your two images up there, so I'm just going down the line. I'm not going, the order I'm going in is what I see. Michael, what's your interest in the films?
My interest in films is like nonfiction stories.
By nonfiction documentaries?
Yeah, documentaries. That kind of stuff interests me a lot.
And what are you doing?
I am trying to take things when it comes to something that I find interesting, fascinating, and trying to put not just my opinions or my experiences, but other people's as well, and try to show how people go through everything.
Have you got an example you would want to share with us?
Well, recently I worked on a documentary for a nonfiction class, and I did a documentary on how my hometown, how small businesses were dealing with the pandemic.
Wow, great. Have
So
you
it was
shot
a
it?
shorter one.
Are you thinking of shooting it, or have you shot it?
It's already done. I finished it. It was about like 15 minutes. I wish I could have made it longer, but I might revisit it at some point.
So what did you do? What kind of a camera did you use to begin with?
I used a DSLR, like what I had. It was not obviously the best
Did you hand
camera.
hold it?
No, I used like tripods and
You use tripods. Use for
laptop.
sound. What'd you do for sound?
I have like a little external microphone that I was able to use.
Attached to the camera?
Sometimes I did it on top, sometimes I put it on the side or next to the speaker.
And what did you do about approaching the entrepreneur?
A couple of them I actually knew, which was nice. I had a connection there, but
What did you say to
others
them? How did you approach them to get them to sit down and talk to you?
well, I told them about what my like idea and vision was for the film, and I was telling them how I thought their business would positively share a good story for the film, and how it can be shared with a lot of different people and be relatable for a lot of other business owners as well.
So did you have any difficulty finding people to sit down and talk to you?
For a little while, yes, but I was able to find enough people to make it what I and a few other people, or a bunch of other people, thought was interesting.
Have you finished the film?
Yep, I finished it in late spring.
Late spring. And what are you doing with it?
I posted it online. I might submit it to a couple film festivals.
Good.
coming up, but
And is it part of your study program? Is it part of what you do that you talk to Tom about?
it was not a required class. I saw it and it really got me into documentaries. That's what made me realize, like, okay, that's exactly what I want to do. And
Oh, that's great. Curtis, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
What's your interest, Curtis?
I'm more interested in doing independent work and making feature films and short films.
What does that mean, knee jerk? I mean, spontaneous? And where does that
Curtis, I
I
think
want to,
feature films, right?
yes,
Yeah,
you're interested in making feature films, Curtis?
yeah.
And do you write them, or what do you call a knee jerk film?
Yeah, I write. Right now I'm currently working in capstone on a fiction film about brothers who dealt with abuse when they were younger, and yeah,
But are you fictionalizing it, or are you shooting it?
yes, it's
You're
fictional.
fictionalizing based
Yeah.
on their experiences.
Yes,
Who are the kids? What are they related to you?
they're based off of the experiences that my parents have had while they were growing up with my grandparents.
So, are your grandparents the villains?
Not necessarily. It's more of I have just recently come of the age where I have sort of been able to realize the sort of experiences my parents have gone through in their lives. And I feel like this film is sort of an expression of me, is sort of me expressing how I'm beginning to realize that they've gone through a lot in their life.
I see.
Yeah.
It is a coming of age film for you. Will that be? Oh, I got a dog here. Are you? That's fascinating. So, do you become a character in your film?
I guess sort of in a way.
It seems somewhat amorphous. You're not ready to write it down, I take it, or shoot it.
It's sort of I'm doing a kind of rougher version for Capstone. It's only going to be
What's
about
Capstone?
20 minutes.
What's Capstone?
Capstone is our senior films. Is our senior film class.
Oh,
Yes.
so you're in this editing class just to take to find out the finessing, to find out from a really terrific editor how to edit a film. Is that it?
Yeah, sort of.
Well, okay. You're in flux there, which is good, and you'll come to a conclusion sooner or later.
Yeah.
Colleen, my dear,
Hello.
how are you?
I am very good, thank you.
What's your interest? What makes you sing?
I actually have a lot of different interests in the film department. My major is in production, but I'm minoring in acting, so I really love acting as well. But when it comes to film production itself, I am really I love to write. And over the summer, I took a course where we had to write a pilot for a TV show that we may end up doing like sometime in the future.
An hour or a half-hour show?
It was a half-hour show, yes. But the show that I came up with, my professor said that if I wanted to, I could beef it up and make it into an hour series as well.
It would withstand that amplification?
Yeah, there's a lot more within the universe of the show that could be put into either a half hour or even an hour.
Wow. And so have you pursued that? Has that come to resolution?
I haven't so much pursued the full 1 hour one yet, but the half hour one, I was very pleased with how it came out. I'm from the Boston area, so the show that I wrote about was the untold stories really about the MBTA workers on the commuter rail for like the T.
Repeat that. The EPA workers?
MBTA, like, the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority.
Oh, okay.
So it's the subway system for Massachusetts, for Boston.
What's interesting about that?
So I have my personal stake in it is my grandfather. He worked as a conductor for one of the rails for the MBTA, and the different stories that I hear about it from him, like growing up from like when he worked on it in the 70s, and then also how a lot of people rely on the MBTA all the time when they see all these people, but they don't know anything really about them. I mean, the more time they think about the subway system, they think of it as something they need to rely on or more of a headache. So I find it interesting to look at the people's actual lives. I was also inspired by the show Taxi from the 70s to find, because the way that they showed every week the different characters' lives outside of the taxi company.
So you see it as the people riding the subway, not the making of.
No, I see it the people who work on the subway.
Ah, the people who work on the
subway
subway deal with the public every day, and that's the basis of your stories. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Megan. Hi, Megan. You're
Hello.
half in darkness. You're a mysterious character to us. Megan.
It's very dark in here.
You'll
Sorry.
want your lighting. You'll want your lighting man to do a little bit better than you've done for yourself. Where are you in all this?
I'm and I've talked to Tom a lot about this too. I'm very, very interested in screenwriting, and I'm a senior right now, so I'm hoping to go to graduate school abroad next year, and then hopefully work in a writer's room.
Comedies, you mean?
Probably more drama, thrillers, but really anything I can get my hands on, anything I can work on.
So what does the writer's room mean to you? What does that entail for you? What's your image of it?
So for me, it's very difficult for like a TV show to get into a writer's room. So for me, that would be kind of like a starting point if I could work as an assistant or any kind of an intern for a writer's room. Just working on that, watching the process, practicing my own writing and understanding how to kind of set up the work that I want to do, and just using the experiences that I take from that and try to apply it, writing a feature eventually, or writing my own TV show, who knows, wherever it takes me, really.
And have you got any thoughts, any ideas that sound warm and fuzzy to you, of your own?
Like script, yeah, I do have a couple of scripts, yeah, that I've started. I'm in the same class that Curtis was talking about. For our senior project, we do like a 20-minute long video. And I'm writing a script right now about, it's kind of a documentary about the refugee crisis that's going on in Europe. So I'm kind of trying to talk about that and discuss it from an American perspective.
Have you got an angle on that? Have you got a sort of a viewpoint on that?
Yeah, so the idea is that I wanted to present it as an issue that Americans don't necessarily know a lot about, and we don't necessarily pay attention to it as much as Europeans, because it's a huge issue going on in Europe, all across Europe, with this great massive human flow moving around and trying to find space where they can live, which ends up being the camps where people end up coming together and they can't really leave. So I wanted to talk about how, from an American perspective, how we see this crisis, and we're able to ignore it because it's not at home, it's not an issue for us. So that was the idea.
Yeah, it's going to affect the whole world. As time goes by, we're definitely going to be affected by. I just saw recently the other day that pandemic has hit one of the largest refugee camps in Europe. So you can imagine what's going to happen there as time goes by. Yeah, it's a time bomb for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Anna, A-N-A, Anna, you're missing
Hello.
a name. Hi, Anna. Did you have the writing? Did you conceive the writing of your name, A-N-A?
I did not. I'm actually named after my mom and my grandma. That's why I have two first names.
Oh, I see. I was going to
Right.
say that how efficient of you to drop an N.
Yeah, no, that's all my mom. That's not my fault.
What's your interest? Where do you fit in this?
Well, I'm interested in like all genres really, but my main like interest is horror movies and children's TV, which is two completely different worlds, but I like them both.
Unless you scare the bejesus out of a child, I guess you combine.
I mean, I could do that too. There's some great children's horror stuff out there, so. But at the moment, I'm working on a pilot for like a kids show for this internship that I'm interested in with PBS at the moment. So that's what I've been working on.
At risk of losing your idea, what's it involved? Where does it go?
Well, I'm interested in exploring like metaphors and like kind of teaching kids how to express themselves in a metaphorical and allegorical kind of way to kind of like introduce those concepts onto children.
Right.
So my idea is to use dreams as like kind of like the vehicle for that. So, since everyone has dreams, I would actually have like every episode focus on a dream that a child has had and kind of figure out how that fits with their normal day-to-day life. And that would kind of, teach kids how to be able to compare an everyday thing to something that might mean something more.
Fascinating. That's wonderful, wonderfully inventive.
Yeah, it takes a lot of research to do something like that.
Thank you. You moved, Dylan. What about you? Have I, Colleen? Who have I missed here? Just Dylan. I haven't talked to Dylan. Have I talked to everybody else?
Riley is having issues with his camera, but we'll get to him. And,
okay, but just go ahead, Dylan. Talk to us.
Well, yeah, I'm into writing, directing, and producing films. I want to direct feature films and short films. I love writing. It's kind of where I'm headed to. I focus on like horror movies and experimental and avant-garde films. I love collaborating.
What do you call avant-garde? What's avant-garde mean to you?
To me, it means things that are like experimental films, like films that like have no plot really, or like if you've seen the movie Eraserhead, or like movies that just want to challenge the conventions of cinema. I don't know. It's to me, it's just such a broad term. I can't really define it.
Well, that's what I think too. It's too grand a term to, unless you narrow it down to some specifics. It's avant-garde could cover everything. Really. Do you have a color, an area that particularly interests you?
Not really. I mean, if I'm writing a script or something, like if I get a good idea in my head, I'll just write it down and see where I go from there.
I met a famous writer. I'm doing an interview show along with some other stuff, and I was interviewing a famous writer the other day, and she said, "I said, how do you start? What do you do as a writer?" Because most writers have a a thread, a center, and from that spine emanates all the story. That's the standard way of doing it, and it seems to worked over many thousands of years, and would seem the way to write it. Well, this lady said, I just think of a sentence, anything, I'm going out for a walk. And then she said, then I think, who says it? And it's the guy with the long hair who says, I'm going for a walk. Why has he got long hair? And why do you say I'm going? And she approaches it like a scene that has one line in it, and then she amplifies that, and then she researches everything, and it becomes a novel. And I'd never heard of that. So there's no one way of doing things. That's something to remember. There's no one way of doing things. You do it your way, as long as you can hold the audience, as long as you are entertaining, which is or informative, instructive. I guess that's part of what we're doing here. Have I covered everybody's? I don't think I'm missing anybody, right?
Amy, we need to hear from Amy and Riley.
Say that again.
We need to hear from Amy and Riley.
Oh, I've missed Amy. I'm so sorry, Amy. And where's Riley? Where is Riley?
Riley's camera isn't working, but
I
see. You'll be able to see him listen.
Okay, good. Amy, so sorry, dear.
That's okay.
Your all the positions of everybody has changed on my computer, so I lost track of you. Tell me about yourself. Tell me what you're doing and why you're in film school.
I have an interest in film production, kind of working on a set of a film or television. I really like camera work, editing, cinematography, photography, that kind of thing, like the artistic side, I believe. And it's kind of unclear which direction I'm trying to go in directly right now, but those are my ideas so far.
And have you got a project in mind? Are you doing anything with any specificity?
No, I'm in no projects right now, really.
So how do you, what do you, everybody else says, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. I mean, and they've got something in mind. Can you learn a production without having something in mind, direct in mind? Can you get through a class without being specific?
I mean, you could. I've made films for, class projects and things like that. I haven't really done any films of my own that I have created.
So when you say you made films, what have you done on them?
I think more of my life, I would say.
Well, that's basic. I mean,
my experience.
We all seek to do that. Well, that's what appeals to us. Something in our life that we might not even know about until we do it, and then we explore those avenues of ourselves. That's as important. The production of a film is as important, if not more important, than anything else. Otherwise, nothing else works. Now, who am I missing? And do they go off the air? They go off the.
Hello, I'm here. I'm Riley.
Where are you? Where are you, Riley?
My camera is not working at this moment.
Okay, so you're like the voice of God, Riley. Riley,
hello.
Tell us about yourself. What's your dreams, hopes, and ambitions? What would you like to do? What do you want to do as a professional? And I presume you want to be a professional, otherwise you wouldn't be taking the class. Is that correct? I mean, is that a correct assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a junior here at Keene State. I'm a film major, and I enjoy editing the most. So professionally, I think I would like to edit films in some way. I'm not quite sure yet.
Right. Have you looked at films with an editing eye? Have you looked at things how you would have edited, or the value of that editor? Have you seen that for yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And me and my friends,
My friends
watch
and
movies all the time together, and we're
friends
like,
and I.
how is that edited? How do you do that? Like how do you know exactly when to cut, like the exact moment?
Yeah.
How long do you hold the shot? Like when do you cut in with respect to what's happening in that scene? Like it just seems like there's an endless amount of options for how you
Right.
can edit the scene, and it's seems overwhelming, and but I just want to know how to do it
Right.
exactly right. You
Well,
know,
Tom,
a lot of editors in David Fincher films, Stanley Kubrick films, Steven Spielberg films,
good for you.
like those, yeah, Tarantino films, Scorsese films as well.
Editing is one of those major skills that aren't popular in the public's ear and eye. They don't know about editing, which is like telling a joke and not knowing not coming to the joke, the punchline.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Editing
Not
is the punchline. That's true. Tom, I've covered everybody. What else? Each one of them interesting stories to tell us. The as a student and just learning and burgeoning, they're not exactly um dead on about what they want to do. They're leaving themselves open to see what the opportunities are, and I think that's very wise.
In many respects, that's how we've designed the program, is you start at the beginning and do a lot of your own projects and learn how to work with crews. But like any college experience, I think, Bill, it is about learning not only what you're good at, but what you enjoy. And in particular, I've always emphasized, this is my 25th year here, I've always emphasized teach you the skills, find out what you enjoy, but make sure that you can make a living at it. And so that it is part of an exploration for them to find that out.
Yeah, making a living at it is a difficult one because you don't know
Sure.
where your skills lie at that point. But it certainly is an ingredient to your choices of what you want to do. But at your ages, what you want to express is, for me, and I've got young people all around me, family, and I keep saying the cliche is find your passion. Find out what storytell is you want to say something about, something that appeals to you, something that may be personal, whether it's fiction or documentary or avant-garde. It's something that's close to you, something that you can bring to it that's uniquely yours. I think that's the thing. Make your stories uniquely yours. Whatever it is you're working on, whether you're editing or production or writing and directing, make it in the beginning like this. Make it a story that you would love to find out the resolution of. You'd like to know, how does that end? How do I feel about that? You can make the film, whether it's fictional or documentary, an exploration of what it is that interests you, and all of a sudden it becomes the answer to a mystery. Why did Daddy do that? What are those people on the train doing? Why are they acting in that manner? How do I explore that? How do I get to the bottom of that truth? What is that truth? If the truth can keep eluding you, that's part of the mystery of telling a film. Like one truth reveals another, and it only reveals another question. I love those kind of stories where, oh no, that isn't the answer. It only results in another question. So those are important things to remember in your young explorations and your exploring. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I know our students have some specific advice questions to ask you. I wanted to kind of go back to the comment Darwin had made. He's the one who was writing a script about essentially evil bad guys who we end up.
Yes, lovable.
Lovable bad guys. Can you give him advice in writing it? Because while your character in Boston Legal wasn't evil, he certainly wasn't the standard good guy. Were you able to bring a likability to that? Was that in the writing, a combination of both? How would you advise him?
Well, all your characters have to be understandable. You have to be able to understand them. You don't have to like them. They can be really unsavory characters in whatever they're doing. But if they're your main characters, you've got to understand them. Why are they behaving that way? What do they want? What is being fulfilled by killing somebody? If you're a serial murderer, you've got to be stopped and you've got to be placed in jail, no question. But why are they doing that? I mean, your story then is, why are you doing that? Even if you're hijacking a car, even if you're cheating on an exam. I mean, you go down the list from very serious to, you're cheating on an exam. Why are you cheating on an exam? Is it more important to you to get that grade, or do you want to understand the subject? When you're making a film, I don't know how you get around the fact that you've got to invest yourself in it. You've got to be. Tom and I are editing a massive amount of film. I put, I don't know, 10, 15 GoPros, spattered them around on motorcycles. I had a crew of 3 cameras and sound people. And, you can find them every so often. What after this massive film that I didn't know what was going to happen, I was struck by the fact, Tom, once again, there's a scene, and we're on episode 5, fine-tuning episode 5, and there are 8 episodes, so we've got 6, 7, and 8 left to do. And one of the characters, one of the real people, I think he was the truck driver who drove one of the trucks, and somebody had hit the truck. There was a car accident on our vehicle, and there was what do we do now? So this guy, the truck driver, said, "Oh, gee," and the cameraman also like I couldn't quite understand why he would do this. He said to the truck driver, "Well, the good news is it's half over." And the truck driver said, "I know. This up to now, it's been terrible. I don't know what else could go." And I'm thinking, they don't understand. We're making a documentary here. You want things to go wrong. You don't want to just walk down the street and nothing happens. You want to trip. You want to see somebody run. And these people didn't, of course, had any idea that being hit behind by a guy who fell asleep at the car and there was nobody was hurt. It was just wreckage. Adds a complication to the documentary, and I was thrilled that something had happened. But the truck driver was, oh boy, another thing went wrong, and you realize the shortness of the point of view. So your point of view has got to be to tell the story and like the people, respect the people you're telling the story about, and not hate them. Nah, I don't know whether I mean that. You can hate them, but you got to understand them, is, I guess, what I'm saying. And in your young lives, the understanding comes from your own experience, it would seem to me, that you'd be most interested, fictionally or in reality, of how you're feeling about the subject so that you can apply yourself to the subject and either pull something out of the air that might dramatize your feeling or your view on the subject, or something that actually happened and turn around. Let me give you an example. I'm writing with a lyricist and a composer. In fact, I'll throw this out to you. Maybe you'll be able to help me get an idea. So we're writing an album of an autobiographical album. I've got a blues album out there now, and we think it's pretty good. It's getting great reviews. The next recorded thing I'll do is music of events in my life, put to essentially poetry and music. It's really avant-garde. So the lyricist is looking to me to provide story material. What's the song about? So I've been providing him story material. So I was thinking, what happened to me that would make a song? And then I thought of this, and I don't know what the song is. So I'm going to tell you what the event is, and you tell me what the song is. I was in Ireland, and we met a man who was the town fisherman, small town. And they called him the Gilly because he would wear to hunt and fish a ghillie suit, which is, I don't know where it comes from, but snipers in the field when they're in war wear a suit of disguise so they can crawl around the ground and they're part of the ground. Part of what a sniper school is to be as unobserved as possible. So they fit the ghillie suit to the surrounding vegetation, and they'll take these burlap sacks and stick local vegetation in it so it changes with wherever you are, and they creep along, and they're the ghillie suit. So this ghillie, and so the guy who wears the ghillie suit in a small town is called the Gilly. So this Gilly who wears a ghillie suit to obfuscate, to hide, and I'm saying those words deliberately, took me and my wife to a stream where we had fishing rods, and took us to a stream. And we said, come with me, and we walked alongside the stream, and every so often the bush would part, and there'd be somebody in the stream wearing waders, casting, trying to get a fish. And the Gilly would say, there you are, how are you doing? I'm fine, Gilly, I'm fine. And we'd walk on to the next. How you doing? Good. Any fish? No, nothing. And he would go. We did half a dozen times, and finally we found a space that we could go in, and we walked in. We had waders, walked in, and were fishing for about 15 minutes, no bites. And I said to the Gilly, there's no bites. What's that? He says, there are no fish. What? He said, oh, no, all those people, they're members of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we come to the stream just to be secure and have something to do and be nice out. And so there are no fish. The acid balance, when the English cut down all the trees for their ships 200 years ago, they planted trees that make the streams a different acid balance, so the fish don't come here. So there are no fish. So here was a guy who had a suit that hid behind a suit, took us all out on a event that had no end to it. There was no object to it, and yet there was, in that the people suffering from alcoholism had a respite, had a peaceful moment in this stream, although there were no fish. So I'm struck by the fact that there's mystery and mystique and seemingly foolish things, but they aren't foolish. There's a song there, but I don't know what it is. Any ideas? Use your imagination.
So yeah, send them. Be thinking on it.
Think on it.
Let me interject real quickly. We do have, obviously our class is interacting with you, Bill, but you know we have observers, what we call attendees, people who are watching our class. I guess there are folks who are...
Are they yawning?
Are
the people yawning?
Questions. I just want to let the attendees know interaction with you and questions for you are reserved for the class. So sorry, but we can't accept questions from other folks who are just watching. But I know several of our students have some specific advice questions. Megan, you had a question, I think, to start with, maybe?
Yeah, so I just had a question for you about a career in the film industry. So I wanted to know, what do you see as the biggest obstacle for students like us who are trying to get into the film industry?
Fear. You're afraid. Don't be fearful. Come here. Everybody lean in. Everybody, all you lean into camera. Lean. Come on, Michael. Move in. Be part of the group. Right? I'm going to tell you a secret. Y'all leaning in? Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything. Your opinion and your taste is as good as anybody. It doesn't matter. The great minds in Hollywood, they don't know anything. They're kind of guessing. I hope this works. This should work. I don't know whether this works or not. I think it'll work. Your opinion is the equal of anybody's. All you have to do is be brave enough to put it out there. So fear is your big monster. That's what needs to be broken. Instantly, it comes to mind, I'm a Canadian. I come from Montreal. I worked a lot in Canada before coming down to the States and in a play that went on Broadway. But these are the stories I would hear, that a Canadian producer with fear would come down to Hollywood with something, a story, a film, an idea, technology, whatever it was. He had something to sell. Invariably, I would hear that he would sit in the office and wait to talk to someone, an underling of some kind, and not trying to breach the walls with courage, because he was Canadian and he was kind of like, this is America and they know what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. Oh, some people have a vague idea, but your vague idea is equally good if you can follow through. So remember that. Do not be fearful. Go with bravery. Go with courage. Have an idea of what you want. Be specific. All of you are a little, and you should be, indeterminate. When you're ready, have a determined concept. Know where you're going. If you're in production, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to write. This is what I want to be. But do not be fearful. Be courageous about your ideas.
Colleen, you had a question?
Yes. So my question is, how did you find the transition?
Wait a minute. Why are you reading your question?
Sorry.
Do not read your question.
Okay.
What is your question? Right from your heart. What is your question?
So what I want to know is, how did you find the transition moving from doing plays in like Shakespeare plays in Canada to going to Broadway or television or even film as an actor? How did you find that transition?
So much of what happens anywhere in life, but particularly in this profession, is based on luck. Where you are, what you do, which, it's astonishing how some people are lucky and some people aren't lucky. Now, everybody's unlucky at one time or another, and everybody's lucky at one time or another. It's cyclical. But if you make the best of being lucky and try and minimize the unlucky, the bad, I think that's the key. So I worked for 5 years after I graduated university. I did a lot of college things, musicals and plays and radio and TV, made movies and all stuff. I started when I was 6 on stage. So by the time I graduated university and I'd been in the summer theater in Montreal, I got a job on a professional theater in Ottawa, Canada, And then from there, people noticed me. So I went on to the big city in Canada, which is Toronto, which is our New York. And from Toronto, I went on to the Shakespeare Festival north of Toronto. They asked me to come. So it was being out there and having talent and saying yes to those opportunities. Now, I left home. Leaving home is very difficult. The warmth, the continuity, the safety, and you have to be brave, and you have to take risks, and you have to make mistakes. That's the other thing. You've got to make mistakes. You don't know until you edit something together. You think, that is terrible. That doesn't tell the story at all. I better go back and find out, go back to the core, go back to what it is you're telling, whether it's editing or whatever your skills are. If it's not working, go back to where, well, let's see, what did I really want to do? And re-edit yourself, if that's the case, all the time. You're constantly re-editing. And eventually, with the hard work and the courage and the ability to fail and learn from those failures, you cannot succeed until you fail.
I'm going to throw a question in before I get to Michael. Bill, you've worked obviously with some powerhouse directors.
Oh, powerhouse.
Stanley Kramer, when you worked at Judgment at Nuremberg.
What? Say that, it's Stanley Kramer, yes.
With Judgment at Nuremberg, can you think of a director with whom you worked who gave you like a quintessential inspiration or advice on whether it's being an actor or working in film? Who made like a big mark on you early on?
You know, I hear people say, well, my hero is, and I was inspired by, I'm sorry, I don't have anybody. It was always, I was always inching forward, slugging it out. I knew, no, you know, there's no magical, I make you what is it? You're a rainbow or whatever it is. No, that only happens in the movies. When you edit, I'm a rainbow. To become a rainbow, you've got to get each one of those paint colors and work at it. I don't know. I can see from up here, way up there, was where Marlon Brando lived, and he's dead now, so he doesn't live there any longer. But he was like the guy when I was coming up. He was the avant-garde actor because he broke the mold that Sir Laurence Olivier, who was the other part of classical actor that I admired. So I admired those two guys. They were opposite. One was in England, one was in America, and I'm in Canada. I've often thought of that. I'm in the center, and I'm getting from that guy, and I'm getting from that guy. And I came down here, sort of a combination of both, which is, I guess, what I thought. But I didn't have any conscious thought of that like that. It all sort of was osmosis by just assimilation. I never got advice that I thought, oh, I'm going to remember that, or I never got a leg up, or I never, no, it was always like hard work. You,
sorry,
Tom Cook, are inspirational. You should tell them that story of how we met. That's inspirational. That's relying on the universe to take care of you.
I'll make this quick. We're almost closing in on the hour. Bill, I don't want to take any more of your time, but
no, it's not my time. And if you got to, go extra, I'm okay. But I think it's inspirational for you, Tom, to tell them and the audience out there how we met and how we got together. Inspiration.
Ultimately, when we first actually met, Bill invited me. We talked about.
No. How did we start, Tom?
When we started, Bill had been traveling with I think it was the 25th anniversary of the Wrath of Khan. And he appeared up in Concord. And so I was listening to one of his audiobooks. He mentioned, which he's already talked about, this big project that he'd shot on this motorcycle trip, and he had all of this footage. And for some reason, there was just so much footage, he couldn't get in.
Every editor I went to didn't want to accept it.
Right. And so I thought that was interesting. But then Bill brought it up again at the talk at the Wrath of Khan, and I just thought, that's strange that it came, it made so much sense twice. So I'm an autograph hound. I had a poster I wanted Bill to autograph, and I got him some pre-signed things, but he took pictures with us. And so afterwards I came home and wrote him a letter. I sent it to Kathleen, and I can't believe that Kathleen found it, but I said, "Dear Mr. Shatner, I hear that you have some material that you wanted edited. I could do that for you. I'd be glad to." And all I was looking for was a letter from Kathleen or Bill that said, "Dear Professor Cook, get lost creep, signed William Shatner." Ooh, and I have his autograph. But strangely enough, Kathleen had to chase me down, but Bill accepted, took a chance on giving me this footage.
Yeah, but listen, but okay. So the letter arrives.
Yeah.
I see a fan letter on my desk. So fan letters go to the fan club, and I answer them. Basically, I sign if there's an autograph, and I sign. But I don't see too much of it. Okay, it's just the way it is. This letter came across my desk. So when they send a personal letter to a personal address, I don't want to answer because it just reinforces the intrusion. So I've got the letter, and and I tear it open, and it's this guy saying, "I'm an editor." So I answered, "What kind of an editor? Where do you edit?" "Well, I teach." "You teach editing?" "Yeah." "What's your name?" I looked him up. Dumb. And that's how we met. The universe took care of both of us. He was the school had come down. He was ready to work on something else for the moment. I needed help, and somehow that collision took place. He had the courage to write me a letter. I had the inspiration to open the letter and to take a chance on somebody in Maine, right? New England.
Sure.
In New England, I'm in the furthest. I'm as far away in America as you can get from your corner of America. You can't get any further. You get into Puerto Rico or Canada or the Atlantic Ocean to go any further. We're as far apart as we could, and over the many months that we've been working together, he got ill, he got better. It's been an extraordinary experience for both of us. Then, and I don't know that anybody's ever done this. So he edited, I corrected and edited. Then we got to the point where it needed a fine editing. So what ordinarily would happen is a director would come into the editor and they'd sit in front of the screen and say, "Run that." "No, I would get this to do that." I'm 3,500 miles away. So we Zoomed it. I watched it on Zoom on his editing bay. And we did our last edit. I don't know if it's the final edit, but the last edit was done 1 hour at a time on Zoom. We spent weeks doing it. And here we are. We've got 8 episodes, and I don't know the quality of it. It's ragged, the cameras, the sound, everything is ragged because nobody knew where we were going or what we were doing. But in that raggedness, there's an energy. And so I don't know whether it's great or mediocre, but it's of interest to me, and I think to Tom. We've worked hard on it. So I am now selling it. I'm now presenting episode 1, actually 2, 3, and 4, Tom. I've presented to people to see this content, because what happens is it kind of meanders along. It's a motorcycle ride, and you meet people, and it meanders through, but gradually you get to know the people, because I did interviews with the people, and we edited in the interviews as you meet the people and talk about, and suddenly we're into some of the statements that they made, the knowledgeable statements that they made, and we get to know the people, and they evolve. And I think for me, it works. I just saw episode 5. I think it works.
Yeah, and so Bill, when we first met, referred to our getting together as his parking karma. Bill always said he had parking karma. So that things work
Be able
out.
to drive my car and get near a restaurant, somebody pulls out from the curb, and I get parking karma.
And
So
the story I tell my students now, and it's kind of continued my philosophy, is that I didn't have anything to lose sending you that letter. If Kathleen didn't see it or if you didn't see it, I'm not at anything. But if you take a chance, folks, Bill's not gonna give me the chance unless I write him that letter. So you got to go out and try to grab.
That's exactly right. So Tom had the courage to go against everything else that he was familiar with, and there was courage all around. And the fact that it worked out, and the fact that he had the talent, it could have been some guy, and I would have deduced that fairly quickly. But suddenly, here was this guy with talent, editing miles and miles of film. It was the gift.
I want to.
Now we got to sell it.
Before I want to let the audience who's watching in know that we've gone past our hour. Bill, if you're willing to stick around, that's great. If not, we understand.
What do you want to do?
Does anybody else have any other questions? Advice from
Okay, let's do that.
World-renowned actor, director, writer, producer.
Yep.
Here's your chance.
Technician, documentary maker, avant-garde maker. We got them all.
Here's your chance. Jump in, folks.
Come on, have the courage.
Whoa.
Darwin,
Go.
So
Beanie Boy, go.
I was wondering, because like you, I have several different passions that I like to try to balance. And I was curious as to how, for over 50 years, you've been able to balance doing poetry, singing,
well over 50 years.
all this other things. I was curious.
About how to balance it?
How to balance it, yeah.
Well, it doesn't balance. It's always out of balance. It's a rough life. Being in this business is rough. You go along. That's why you need, and I've got family that want to be actors and all that kind of thing. And I keep telling them, it's a rough life. And there's, not only is there not any guarantee of success, the possibility of success is very limited. Because there's so many people who think, oh, what a great idea. I think I'll be an actor. I think I'll be a director. I think I'll be a writer. I think I'll be in production. So you've got a lot of competition out there. So you've got to study and be good. You got to be good to begin with and then study hard and be better. Then you got to go out and knock on doors. And then if you're really good or you're really passionate about something and the person takes a chance on you, then you've got the first stride up. But the dedication that is necessary, the totality of your life that you need to devote to it it can be overwhelming. It affects your family, it affects your life, and so there was no balancing act. It was leaving home and hearth and a nice job and a pleasant existence to one of loneliness and starvation and hurt and fear and anxiety and all those things. Wrestling with those as a young man went on for years and years. The story I tell is that in a long, many years ago, many years before you guys were born, $1,800 was a princely sum of money. And I found, I met a woman that I fell in love with and I married. We had a baby, and now I'm in Hollywood, and I can't keep $1,800 in the bank. The rent comes up, and now it's less than 1,800. And I build it up. I'm able to save some money from paycheck, and now it's and then the car goes bad, or the one thing after another. It was always close to the bone. I lived paycheck to paycheck for many, many years, and it's excruciating. There's no safety. There's no, in most businesses, when you do something for a length of time, you're experienced. Oh, really? Yes, I've had 30 years in bookkeeping, and I took care of General Motors book, and I invest. Oh, really? Well, come and work for me because you've had all that experience. That doesn't seem to matter in show business. You could have been an actor for all those years, and I'm sorry, you're too old. There are directors that have spent 50 years in the business and are being pushed out for younger people who don't have that experience. There's so many discouraging things that you have to really want, be passionate, and be willing to sacrifice. So there's no balance. Later, now, with some money in the bank and the children grown and all, I'm having a great time. I'm riding horses, and I'm singing songs. I'm writing poetry. It's terrific, but that took a long time. So you got to. This isn't cheap advice. I expect all of you to make a contribution to the fund. No, take it to heart.
Who else? Anybody else? Yep. Anna?
Which means you have to have an alternative way of making a living. So if your major is this, take a minor in something that you can fall back on. Sorry, go ahead.
I jokingly say that before they graduate, they have to sincerely convince me by saying, "Do you want fries with that?" So, because who knows where they're going to work. Anna, go ahead.
Hi. So you were talking about how you were selling the pilot of your documentary. What is that process like, selling a pilot?
Well, so here's how you do it. You call the guy who buys things at wherever you are, Netflix or Apple or whatever it is. So you dial, hello, yes, my name is Anna, and I have a children's project that I think is really good. I'd like to come up and speak to you. Oh, really, Anna? What's it about? Well, it's about the children and the animals. Well, that sounds really all right. You come up here at 3:00 3 weeks from now, and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you go and you sit in the lobby, and then you sit in the anteroom, and then you come into the desk with a desk in a room, and he says, "Hello, Anna, nice to meet you. Oh, you went to University in New England. Good. So what have you got?" Here's what I have, sir. I've got 3 stories. I got 10 stories about this child and their dreams, and this is what the dream is, and it starts here. It begins in the middle there. This is what happens, and she learns that lesson there, and it ends here. The next story is, and you have your whole idea outlined in such a manner that the guy receiving the idea says, "Oh, wow, we can start shooting that tomorrow." Except, Anna, I would change the child. You want to have the child? It should be a grandmother. What? It's a child? No, I feel it should be and now you got to deal with that. So it's a process of believing in yourself, being adjustable to the whims of the people buying, and I'm going to give a lecture on this, on a film I made, between standing on principle and being politic about things, so that you can adjust to people's other needs. How much can you? How long do you stand on principle? That's my idea of children's film, and I'm sorry, sir, the grandmother doesn't work, and you leave. Or, oh, a grandmother. You know, it's interesting because I was thinking about a grandmother there, and I'll go in and write that in. If I can make an appointment in 3 weeks, I'll take your idea, sir, grandmother with a children's story, and I'll work on that. Now you've lost your original idea, but you may have a chance to sell it. Where do you go? These are lifetime decisions. Do I go with that boy? My mother says, don't go with that boy. Okay, I'm going to listen to my mother. No, I'm not going to listen to my mother. I'm going to go with that boy. Your life is filled with all those decisions. Stand on principle? No, it's not a moral thing to do. Okay, I'll do that because it's great fun.
Anybody else with questions for Bill?
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, Curtis, thank you. That sounds like goodbye. Goodbye, Curtis.
Oh no.
Oh,
That was me. So you have directed several films in the past, and what are some ways you really felt helped you deal with the big crews and the cast members whom you have directed?
how do I deal with them as a director?
Yeah.
Well, let's see if I can start from the beginning. You cast somebody. That's the original introduction. Hello, Curtis. I think you should be. I've seen your work. You've auditioned. That audition you made was really good. I'd like you to play the lead in my thing. Now, what I think, Curtis, is that he should wear a beard and glasses and have a short haircut. Do you agree with that? I mean, I think that's where the character is. Or do you want to shave your beard, get rid of your glasses, and grow your hair? So we're already respecting each other. And now you come to the scene, and we've rehearsed. So I've said, where you're very emotional there, why don't you try it without like holding it in, like seething, but not letting it show. Oh, okay. And now we're trading respectful viewpoints. God, I like that better, don't you? Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it sounds better. It's much better. Close on camera, you'd be better off doing that. Okay. It's like training a puppy. Come here, baby. Come here. Here, sit down. Sit. There you go, honey. Come here. Hey, come. No, sit. And you, by slow degrees, you establish a rapport, and then it's effortless.
Great. Bill, I want to thank you for spending the time. I'd like to wrap
This
up.
really sounds like goodbye, Tom.
Well, if you can stick around, that's great. We've got attendees.
I got to leave. I've got things to do.
Okay.
But what a joy it was to be with you guys.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed it half as much as I enjoyed being here.
It was great.
Tom,
Thank you so much.
five is
Thank
great.
you.
5 is great. Put the musician on the other 3.
Okay, I'll do
It's-
that.
It's innocuous enough so we're good.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill. Talk
Thanks.
to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye, everybody. Good luck on your long lives.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
I expect to be working for you one day.
For our attendees, then, this wraps up our first session. Everybody else, students, please stick around. But this wraps our first session with our guest speaker, William Shatner. If you hit the Keene State College website, you'll be able to find who the rest of our guests are this coming semester. Next week, we'll be speaking with Oscar-winning director Lee Unkrich of Pixar. He directed some of the Toy Story films, Coco, Monsters, Inc. So please stay with us, and we hope to see you next week.